Welcome to another tutorial for Dry Vaccine. In this tutorial we are going to go a bit more into details on the settings of the Dry Vaccine console, and what more is we are going to look at what happens when a virus infects the system and how Dry Vaccine is going to help us. So I'm going to go ahead and log on to my Dry Vaccine console here, and here comes the Dry Vaccine console on your right hand side, which is usually the general information of the Dry Vaccine console. On the left hand side on the top you can see the common task of Dry Vaccine. What more users are going to be playing around with is going to be the restore settings here. On your right now is all your restore settings options, which is quite a lot of restore options, unlike you won't find it other softwares. So the top is going to be your baseline information, which is usually that tells you when your initial baseline has been installed. That is usually during the installation of Dry Vaccine itself, or unless you have updated your baseline, and then the time frame of this will change. The next thing we are going to look at is the restore baseline settings. Like I've mentioned before, this software has quite a lot of restore baseline options, which is usually restore baseline at restart, and you've got the one for log off, then you've got one for both restart and log off, and then you've got to go more time specific, maybe an hourly, or you can even press this option restore now if you just decided to restore all of a sudden. Then you've got restore at the first boot up of the day, or you could even go daily or weekly if you found with your system not being restored every time. And then you could even go up there and press restore baseline at restart, and then you can even set some time to temporarily suspend restore, just in case you want the system updates to take place, which usually requires your system to restart. So you could set time to temporarily suspend restore, and then if you're fine with your baseline's system updates, you could just update your baseline to include those updates before resuming restore. Another option we look at is disable restore, where when you decide to install new applications and make changes to the system, you do not want the restore to take place, thus resulting in losing those installation files. So for some time you could have the disable restore option on, and after you have installed your new application or system files, you could then initialize your system restore by going and clicking restore baseline and restart, which is my preference for my restore baseline settings. The next I'm going to look at is program settings, which is your simple usual program setting changes. Here you could set to change new passwords, and you can even hide your tray icon in your public access computers so that other users do not mess around with Dry Vaccine's console and changing your settings, your preferred settings. Then if you want to be even more protective, you can enable restart if the PC is left idle for 30 minutes, or you could even increase the time, and then you have another option to shut down if the PC is left idle. The reason for these two options is if a public user left your PC idle for some time, and it's best to have it restored to your best baseline so your system stays clean and not affected. And the last option is you could even look at auto run miss schedule restore. So if you missed a schedule for restore, it runs restore the next boot up. Then network settings is your settings to connect to your Dry Vaccine remote management console, which you can control about 50 to 60 even more public access computers from one administrator computer. So you can just connect to this network management console. What's great about this remote management console is it's free when you buy Dry Vaccine, so you do not have to pay a separate price for the remote management console. It comes free with this. And one of the most impressive option in Dry Vaccine is the tools option here, which can be used if you want to restrict the use of CD-ROM devices or restrict the use of USB flash drive, which more administrators like if they put your computers for public access. This gives more protection for the system, so no users can use USB or CD-ROM to do some malicious tasks. And now we are back to the general information. In the next step of this tutorial, I'm going to show you how Dry Vaccine protects your system and revert backs from any infected or corrupted system files, changing back to everything to a perfectly working state. So in order to do this, I'm going to intently delete my system files and delete my own personal files by just going to my computer here. Note, this is only for educational purposes. Do not try this at home unless you're well protected by Drive Vaccine. So I'm going to go ahead, open my Windows folder, and as you can see, it gives you a warning saying not to modify its contents as it keeps your system working perfectly fine. Just going to go ahead, open up the folder, then I'll go back to system 32. You can see the warning again here. Then open this contents again. I'm just going to delete a couple row of folders here, which is, keep in mind, important to your system. So I'm just going to delete that here, and I'm just going to close this here, and just even empty my recycling bin, taking this out completely from my system here. Going to empty it. Then I'm going to even go to my own personal folder here in my downloads folder. You can see important documents. I'm just going to even delete this permanently. I'll just go delete or move its contents. Just right click on my recycling bin here and empty my recycling bin. Delete that. I'm going to go further ahead and take this to the next step here. I would going to run a malicious virus that's going to delete more of my system 32 files and corrupt my system. So keep in mind, this is for educational purposes only. Do not try this at home. I've downloaded this virus off the internet. I'm going to run this on my system, corrupting it. I have Drive Vaccine to protect my system, so I'm going to try this. The users at home, please do not try this. So I'm just going to run this file here. So you can see it's giving me warnings here. Even brought more 2 files onto my that folder, and even destroyed my desktop wallpaper. So this is a potentially dangerous virus if you do not have a protection of your system to back out of all these changes. I have Drive Vaccine, so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to go ahead and restart my system, and as you can see, after the restart, my system will be all back working fine, my desktop back, and everything is normal. You can see my system has restarted. You can see my desktop wallpaper is back, which is one of the few signs that my system has gone back to a perfectly working state. Now let's just go and see if my registry files are back, which is important to my system. So I'm going to go to Windows, open the contents again, go to my system 32, and you can see those 2 row of folders are back there. So I'm going to go back, close this folder, and then I'm going to see if my own personal files are there. I'll just go to downloads, and you can see my own important documents are there. Just means Drive Vaccine went back in time, saved my system, brought back all those registry files in, took the virus away, and brought even my registry files and important documents back. And this is how Drive Vaccine is able to protect your system and go back in time and restore back to a perfectly working state. That is it for this tutorial. Be sure to watch our other tutorials on how to use Drive Vaccine.